Hello everybody, this is Vinayak and welcome back to Voxfor Lifetime, your go-to source for Linux tutorials and server management tips brought to you by Voxfor.com, your trusted provider for lifetime VPS, dedicated servers, managed WordPress hosting, monthly VPS plans, and lifetime web hosting based on cPanel. In today's video, we will learn how to create partitions in Linux for your VPS, from basics to advanced techniques. Partitioning your VPS helps separate system files from user data. It improves performance and provides increased security. Proper partitioning also simplifies backup and recovery. Before starting our tutorial for partitions, I would like to explain to you about some basic partitions used in Linux. The first partition which we should be talking about is the root partition, and it comes under root. It holds the core system files and very important binaries. It is a main directory in which all operating system files are present, and it is required for the system's functionality as all of the directories are present in it. Secondly, we should talk about the home directory under /home in our Linux. This partition keeps the user specific file such as your images, documents, web pages, or your Python programs, etc. This is used when you want to update or reinstall system files, etc. And you don't have to worry about your system data or the user data because it will not be wiped out if update is being executed on your Linux server. Third, we should be talking about the swap partition. This is using as a virtual memory and it helps us increase the RAM size when it's full. It is helpful in managing memory intensive processes by improving the server performance and stability. Next, we should talk about the boot partition, also called /boot. This partition contains the important boot files which include the kernel of our Linux and bootloader. If we separate it from the Linux, it is a best practice because critical files are needed to start our operating system. And in the last, we should be talking about the EFI partition. The EFI partition is present under the boot directory and its location is /boot/EFI. It contains the essential items or files which are required for booting into the UEFI mode on systems that use UEFI, and these are basically formatted in FAT32. Before moving further, I would like to tell you some important terms which are required if you are going to manage your Linux partitions. The first term should be primary position. It is a directory which is used as the section and present in the disk in the form of MBR. Second point is for extended partition. It is external disk or additional disk that adds more partitions on our server or machine. Third is a logical partition. This section is present within a extended partition. If you are working on a logical partition, you should be knowing about the extended partition as well. And lastly, you should know about the file system such as XFS, etc. because these are responsible for organizing files and directories within a partition. Moving further, if you want to check the layout of your current VPS and the partitions present in it, use the command lsblk. I will copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. This is the current partition structure for my VPS. Notice that there are two disks present over here. One partition is named as SDA, which is the root partition. And instead of SDA, there are three partitions created. In this, there is SDA1, SDA14 and 15. The SDA15 is our EFI partition, while the SDA1 is our root partition. There are several tools used in Linux for creating partitions such as Fdisk, parted or gparted. Fdisk is used for handling the MBR partitions, whereas the parted utility tool is a command line utility which is suitable for both MBR and GPT based partitions. Similarly, gparted is a graphical partition editor if you are managing with a GUI, which can be using the genome or XRDP sessions. We will now look at creating a partition using Fdisk. To open Fdisk, we will use the command sudo fdisk space the disk which we want to open. For example, dev/sda. Go ahead and copy it, go back to terminal, paste it and press enter. We will see the welcome screen from fdisk in our command line and warning that the disk is currently in use. Repartitioning is probably a bad idea. It's recommended to unmount all file systems and swap off all swap partitions on this disk. This is present because we are having a singular disk present on our VPS. You may get a dedicated server from Voxfor Lifetime or may purchase additional disk storage, and in order to make changes to those partitions on your Linux server or a Windows server, that can be either one, but this is for Linux only. Now, if I want to view the partitions using fdisk utility, I will type P and press enter. This will show me the disk which we are currently analyzing about, its total storage, the storage present in bytes, and how much sectors are present in our disk. It will also show us the type of disk, such as hard disk, SSD, or NVMe. Moving further, it will also show you the IO size as well as some important details along with the partitions present in your disk. If we want to create a new partition in our disk using fdisk utility tool, type n, go to terminal, I will type n over here and press enter. It will ask me for specifying a partition number. By default, we will enter 2 and press enter. Now we will enter the first sector which should be used by our new partition. I will leave it as default, that is 34. And the last sector should be either plus sector or minus sector. This means that either it should be above 34 or below 2047. I will write 2047 and press enter. Fdisk partition tool has created a partition 2 with the type as Linux file system, and the size for this partition is 1007 KB, which loosely means around 1 MB or lower. To write these changes on our Linux system, type the command W and press enter. This command will write the changes which we previously done on our server, and the partition table has been altered and the synchronization of disks is present. Once you are done with these changes, go ahead and reboot your server. Moving forward, we will look at parted utilization tool, which will support both MBR and GPT based disk. To launch parted, we will use the command sudo space parted space our disk. I will copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. Parted is a GNU based disk partitioning tool. If we want to set partition table types, for example, we want to set the MBR tables or GPT based tables, type mklabel space GPT. I'll copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. It will provide us with a warning. I will simply ignore it and press enter. Now it will again ask us for a warning because we are making the changes to the singular disk present on a server. Make sure you use these commands only if you have advanced knowledge about Linux. Press Y and enter. This may take some time. Again, I will press I to ignore it, and this process has been completed. Similarly, to create a new partition in our Linux machine, use the command mkpart space primary space the name of partition along with its size. I will copy it, go to the terminal, paste it and press enter. This command will create a partition. I will again do a ignore and press enter. This partition has been created and the partition will be named as ext4. To verify this partition, we will type the command print, go back to the terminal and type print and press enter. We now have the ext4 based partition which we just created right now. Once you are done with it, press quit and enter. This will take you out of the parted command line tool which is used for partitioning Linux disk. Moving further, let's look at how we can mount a partition to a directory so it can be accessible. For creating a mount point in our Linux system, use the command sudo mkdir space the mount forward slash your partition name. Go ahead and copy it, paste it in our terminal and press enter. This command will create a symbolic link or partition in our Linux server. Now move ahead and mount the partition by typing sudo mount the name of your disk space the partition name which we just used previously for creating a directory. Copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. This command will mount the partition in our SDA block volume present on the server. To verify if the mount was successful, go to our terminal and type lsblk and we can see that a mount slash my underscore partition which we created just now is present in our disk and it is being detected by our Linux. Similarly, if you want to format partitions on your Linux system with the help of mkfs, which is a partitioning tool, use command sudo mkfs dot the partition format which we will be using such as ext4 space your directory or the partition. Copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. If you are on a XFS based system, use the command sudo mkfs.xfs space forward slash your directory or partition. Copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. Moving further in our guide, we will look at how we can automatically mount these partitions in our Linux server. To do that, we can use a editor or command line tool which is called Fstab. The syntax for using Fstab is sudo nano forward slash etc slash Fstab. Go ahead and copy it, go to terminal. Now in my Fstab file, we will add a entry for the partition. For example, if we want to mount the SDA along with my partition named as ext4 with its defaults, we can do so by copying this command, go to terminal, scroll to bottom, paste it and exit by pressing Ctrl X, Y and enter. Now we will unmount and remount the same disk. To do that, use the command sudo unmount forward slash mnt forward slash my underscore partition because it was the partition which we just mounted. Go ahead and copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. Now if you want to check for the same, go ahead and type sudo mount space -a, copy it, go to terminal, paste it and press enter. If there is no error, it means that the mount was successful. Moving further, let's look at some common troubleshooting or your partition issues which you can face. The issue number one can be if your disk space is not being recognized. To fix this problem, make sure that the partition is correctly mounted by checking it using the command lsblk or df space -h. The second issue which you can be encountering is if you are unable to mount a partition. The solution to this error is by checking the file system type and using the fstab entries. The third issue which you may encounter is regarding the server not being available after reboot. This is only happening if your fstab entries are not correct. To do this, boot into the rescue mode and check for the FSI entries, typo, or missing fields. That's it for our today's guide on creating and managing partitions in Linux. We covered using fdisk command, parted, formatting, mounting, and resizing partitions. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and share it with others managing VPS systems. For more tutorials, check out our blog linked in the description. And remember, whether you need lifetime VPS, dedicated servers, managed WordPress hosting, monthly VPS plans, lifetime web hosting based on cPanel, Voxfor has you covered. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.